Yo, 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 what is going on, everybody? Gabriel Santos here. And in today's video, we're going to talk about being proactive versus being reactive when it comes to discipline with marijuana, porn, food, and really any outcome or change you're looking to make. All right. I first learned about these terms in a book called Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, but they're very common terms in the personal development space in general. And so, before we get into it, being proactive is basically generating your thoughts, generating your emotions, and generating your outcomes and your actions. Whereas reactive is you're at the effect of the current thoughts, unconscious thoughts, emotions, cravings, things like that. And so the difference is that when you're reactive, you're not consciously creating your experience. You're run by an unconscious program, old beliefs, disempowering emotions. And when you're being proactive, you're choosing the thoughts and thus choosing the emotions and then choosing the actions. And so the general gist of today is that in order to create the change you're looking for, you must become proactive. And one of the main reasons why you're failing to make the change, or you fail to make the change, or any of us, myself included, is that we're reacting to some story, some emotion, or some thought that doesn't align with the outcome that we want. Okay. And so, as a quick breakdown, when you're proactive, you're the cause. You're choosing the thoughts that work for you. Not to say that you won't have thoughts like, oh my God, I want to smoke. Oh my God, I don't want to do this. Let's go sleep instead. You have those thoughts, but you don't just react to them just because they come up. You have the discernment or the proactive mindset of being like, okay, I see that thought. That's kind of like a type of meditative state. It's like, okay, is that thought going to work for me? Or you have an emotion like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. I'm stressed. I'm feeling overwhelmed. You feel the overwhelm, but instead of reacting based off the overwhelm by let me just go smoke a joint, let me just play video games, let me just binge on this stuff, you have the proactive mindset being like, okay, I feel overwhelmed. What can I do about this to handle this and move forward? Right? So you're at the cause of yourself in your life. And when you're being proactive, you're operating from a higher state of mind versus reactive, where you're on a lower state of mind, where quite literally you are the thoughts that come up. And there is no sense of intervention, there is no sense of discernment or observation about these thoughts. They're happening to you. And same thing with the emotions, is they come up and they're happening to you, and there's no intervention, there's no space in between you and the emotion. It's just, oh, I am overwhelmed, so I'm going to go smoke now because that's what everything is telling me to do on an unconscious level. Whereas being proactive, coming from the cause, coming from the higher mind, you can then create the outcome where you say, okay, I'm not going to smoke today, and you make it so. Right? And in being proactive, you can choose discipline, right? Because when you're proactive, you're there, it's 7 p.m., you already know that the cravings might come. And instead of waiting for them to hit and then the cravings to hit, and now it's like, oh my God, tug of war. It's what you might find is that when you come from a proactive state of mind, the cravings don't even really come up. And if they do come up, they don't have the same sense of power and stickiness to them. Meaning, you notice the craving, but it doesn't become this whole tug of war of like, oh, should I do it? Should I not do it? Because that then is being reactive. And so the point here today is for you to realize that when you're engaging in this tug of war, and it's this conflict between wanting to react to the craving, which is something that you're probably used to, right? Oh, the craving hits, so I do it, right? So you're used to operating this way, and it's an unconscious state of being. And what's kind of crazy is that when we're used to being reactive, being reactive feels normal, it feels comfortable, it feels pleasurable. it feels right to be reactive in our bodies because that's what we're used to. And oftentimes being proactive can hurt because it's like being proactive, being reactive, they don't live in the same plane. Right? And so if you're used to being like, fuck it, whatever, right? And there's this satisfaction, oh yeah, fuck it, whatever. Being proactive and saying, no, we're going to say no. That's not going to feel as normal for you. And so something to just be mindful of is that when you're being proactive, it doesn't necessarily feel normal, right? Because you're choosing something differently. But the beauty in being proactive and the power in being proactive is, okay, what's the thought that's coming up that has me be resistant to change? The thought might be like, this hurts, this sucks, right? And we're reacting to that. Oh my God, yeah, this totally hurts and sucks. Oh, right? But when you're being proactive, I know I'm repeating these words a lot, but the proactive mind says, okay, interesting. Does that belief or story work for me? It sucks, oh God. No. Okay, what can I choose instead? And you might start with something that you can grab, like, this sucks right now, but it's worth it, right? And that in itself, it creates this sense of like, okay, right? You can even go even more. It's like, okay, and then you start to ask yourself, well, what emotion do you want? I want to feel pride, joy, and discipline. Okay, what's a story that you can create that generates those emotions? Oh, okay, discipline is pleasure. Right? It feels good to say no. Saying no is, I'm not saying no to weed. I'm saying yes to greatness. I'm saying yes to health. I'm saying yes to moving forward. I'm saying yes to my personal power. Right? You could feel the difference in energy between those two things. And so, kind of the pain point, if you will, or the price of admission is that we have to be willing to consciously create. That's basically what proactivity is. Consciously create these new stories, new thoughts, and thus new emotions, and thus new habits, and thus new results. But just like when you first drive a car, it's not normal. In fact, there's like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. It's like, I don't fuck, da 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 da. But then after a lot of repetition, it's normal. And so at first, yeah, you do actually have to produce the thoughts and emotions that you want. And you have to say no to the old stuff, or at the very least, identify the old stuff. Right? And we all know that those fork in the road moments. And that's when proactivity is particularly important. Those fork in the road moments. Oh my God, here I am, 11 p.m. Right? This is that moment where I either fucking go eat that late night pizza, go have that late night joint, go have that last minute porn session, or I say no to that, say yes to discipline or commitment, and I follow through and I win. And it's in those moments where our trauma stories and reliving the past can be particularly loud. Meaning it's like, oh God, right? And then what's even more wild is that sometimes when we are choosing proactivity over reactivity, I'm gonna put this in red. This is what's kind of wild, y'all, is that it stimulates the flight or fight response, your survival. Sometimes our survival mechanisms kick in. And it's like, okay, not only, it's like you're so used to a certain way of living and being, right? And this is why I often say in other videos is that we're using these pleasure items to fill voids, or at the very least to be coping mechanisms for things like angst, stress, insecurity, lack of fulfillment, lack of satisfaction, whether it's within ourselves or in our lives. And when we don't have those things to take care of us, we go straight into fight or flight. And so that's why a big part of this journey in general is that you need to create new habits, right? New coping mechanisms. And so as you can see, this can be a very involved journey, but to keep it simple, by engaging in proactivity, proactive energy, being the cause, being the conscious creator of yourself, your thoughts, your life. That's where the money's at. That's where the gold is at. That's where the change you're looking for lives. And what's cool is that after a while, if you consciously create a story like, I'm awesome, this is easy, health is great, being disciplined is pleasurable, after a while, that then turns into your natural kind of reactive mode. And what I mean by that is now your unconscious thoughts become like, oh, this is easy, right? Or like, oh yeah, I win all the time, or I follow through, right? And then that's when you begin to know yourself as someone who's a winner, who follows through, who's disciplined. And that's the change we're all looking for. But you have to proactively create all these things, repetition, 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 and then it gets anchored in your being, and that's how you know yourself to be, and that's when you get that shift in identity. That's the process of what it's like to be someone who's a failure, can't do it, doesn't finish, fucks up, goes from that to follows through, determined, disciplined, has results, right? But it doesn't happen by accident. It has to be created and chosen. And so the tough part can be, right? And let me show a little demonstration here as you guys watch me erase the board. Okay? Just a quick little example, all right? So, New Year's, yay, resolutions, okay, January 1, you're being proactive, right? I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to go to the gym, you create a plan, right? You're being proactive, I want to do this. And oftentimes the New Year's is a cue or an indicator for many of us to become proactive, right? But then fucking January 7 comes along, and then the old thoughts come up. This is hard. This hurts, right? All the old programming, and you're not being proactive anymore. Right? And so the proactive side says, okay, I feel and I do it anyways. And that's a new programming. And I can assure you that's a programming that most of us could use. Feel and do it anyways. The old reactive program says feel quit. That's the reactive. That's the old story. And so if you want to be someone that does it anyways, then you have to do the repetition. Proactive repetition. I got to do it. Right? And the proactive state of mind is above the It's above that, right? It can feel it, acknowledge it, and then do something about it. Whereas reactive, which is the old program, is feel it, I'm in it, and the cravings dominate. The feelings dominate. Whereas in the proactive state of mind, you can choose discipline. And it's just a muscle. It's just a muscle to develop. And so, hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that supports you and brings you value in some way. If you're looking to work with someone more one-on-one, not only on stuff like this, but to deep dive into some of the limiting thoughts, behaviors, unconscious emotions, and unconscious programs that are running you, and you just want to get some clarity as well as accountability and other tools and just a space for you to be supported, I encourage you to reach out to me if that resonates with you. My email, my Instagram will be available down below. We can get one free session for you, and in that session I'll give you an actual coaching session like I would as if you were my client. And if it seems that both of us are interested in working together more long term, we could talk about that towards the end. But regardless, if this stuff interests you, if you are seeking to know more about what working together would look like and how it would value and benefit you, then feel free to reach out to me, guys. But other than that, appreciate you all, love you all. It's freaking January 6th. It's January 6th, so wherever you're at, I hope that you're doing well and continue on. All right, let's go. 2022 just started. Let's crush it. See you guys later. Peace.